Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to Esocentric Tea with Courtney and Lucky. I don't have to talk quickly. I can talk slowly. I'm not in any rush anymore. So
Right.
welcome, everybody. So at any point, if you have any questions, put them all in caps. Because unfortunately, I'm going through a cold right now. And even though I was so smart. I have a separate screen for the conversation, for the chat. Unfortunately, I can see better on the screen with Courtney and I than I can on my computer that I have separately. But it's just how things work out. So
Yeah.
we go with the punches, we roll with the punches, and we see what we can do with it.
Yeah.
So, Courtney,
Yeah.
how have things been this week with you?
Hi, Lucky. Hi, everybody. This week, this week was pretty good. We've talked before about how I am so future focused. Like when I'm here with another human or in person with another human, I'm present, I'm involved. But when I'm alone, I'm like I am sorry. That kind of threw me off. Like Zoom.
I'm going to
Um.
stop touching things because did something else and this happened. So I'm
Okay.
done now.
Yeah, I
I'm
know. Now
done.
I feel like I need to sit back. um. But I'm so future focused that I got a lot of good quality alone time that I spend my alone time really making fun lists, things that I want to do, and all sorts of priorities, mostly work related, for Stars of the Morning Light. So I had a pretty decent week. It was Valentine's Day. I like Valentine's Day. We don't do anything for Valentine's Day, but it's like it gives us permission to even not do anything even more so.
Yeah.
Like we take holidays as a permission to like just not do anything. It's this Zoom thing is like throwing me off, Lucky.
I can make us smaller again.
Yeah, make us smaller because I like seeing. Because what if we talk with our hands as we do as us Yankees talk with our hands? I'm not going to be able to see my hands.
Yep. Yep. It's now back to what we did before with the
Oh
green
my
screen.
goodness. Well, that was our pretty faces. I was watching this really quick short the other day about how the lines on our face, crow's feet or the lines on our forehead and everything, what they
Hmm.
represent.
Really?
Yeah. And I was sitting there watching it, and this guy, he said, and he studied thousands and thousands of faces. And he said, those who don't really have frown lines or, their complexion is really good, they're just smooth everywhere. He was like, they might be psychopaths. And I was like, whoa. Good thing I'm getting older. You could see some lines coming in. And his reasoning, though, and he really did research this. He was some kind of clinical psychologist. I was really researching this stuff. His reasoning is because a lot of our lines on our face they actually form by the time we're like 16, 17. They just grow bigger, wider, more in depth, let's say, as we get older. But so somebody that doesn't really have too many wrinkles, as we would say in general speech, is because they never really expressed any kind of emotion.
Oh,
Yeah, and
that makes a lot of sense because you wouldn't have
yeah,
wrinkles if you didn't express the emotion.
yeah. And it might be too, like when I was growing up, I was really attracted to guys that had the crow's feet, like around the eyes, like the lines at the eyelids. I thought it was just so sexy. Well, I guess that represents people who laugh a lot.
Ah,
And so I'm thinking, oh my goodness, no wonder teenage Courtney thought that was so gorgeous because they're a good time, and I like having a good time. So fascinating, all these things that we're learning in today's world.
yeah, it's that's the thing. If you're always learning, life is always an adventure, and no matter what happens, things come up, and sometimes they're against what we normally believe. But as long as we relax and take it in, we don't have to accept it, but we can at least listen to it. And
Yeah,
that is a good point about getting the lines on your face because you wouldn't have them if you're always the psychopath who doesn't really react to anything.
Yeah, yeah. And just it was a fascinating little, and it was a short. I should have listened to the whole thing, but I still took taking that in. I was like, wow, so many aspects to just even the human body that match up with our personalities and all sorts of things. Also, like being attracted. I learned a long time ago that, when you're young and you're trying to find a mate type of thing, men will always look at the women's hips. We kind of know this because of, childbearing. Women, though, they look at the brow. That's what we look at. That's why bald men like you, Lucky, might have been able to pick up chicks a lot because we are looking at the brow that
Yeah.
goes back to like tribal time of like a good strong brow meant like good DNA, good fighter, good this, good provider. It's so fascinating. And if you got lines there, that means you thought about some stuff, and it's fascinating.
It definitely is. It definitely is. And I guess that kind of goes with narcissism because narcissists tend to be relaxed more than anyone else because they just don't care about anyone else. Although they pretend, but the only reason why they care about, was pretend to care about others, is so that they seem that they're more compassionate. They make it look like they're more involved. They do a lot of false stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
So, and I think that popped up in my stream because, or my feed, because you sent me an email about tonight. And of course, you have thoughts that we're going to explore. I had to Google, I had to look into what we were talking about, Lucky. So, what are we talking about?
Basically, I've been thinking about narcissism and about how, well, it started with a lot of compassionate people get themselves involved with narcissists, whether it be relationship wise or business wise or coworkers. And we tend to be compassionate and we tend to be taken advantage of by narcissists. And then I'm thinking to myself, okay, what separates narcissists from compassionate people? Let's start with the actual, we'll go with the definition with narcissism. A narcissist is having an excessive interest in oneself or one's physical appearance. And basically, you focus so much on yourself that you're actually excluding other people. And that's what makes narcissists different than a compassionate person. Because a real well adjusted, compassionate person will focus on themselves, but not at the expense of others. And
Mm-hmm.
that makes a narcissist. A narcissist will focus so much on themselves that no one else matters. And they will actually will take advantage of others because they matter so much. And I've been thinking, okay, what can a compassionate person learn from a narcissist? Well, one thing, that is to take themselves first and learn from taking yourself first. And if you know a narcissist, you don't cut them off because you got to, unfortunately, you've got to see how they act. And with this, once you know that you're working with a narcissist or dealing with a narcissist, you're in the control, you're in the seat, you're in the control, you're in the driver's seat because you know they're a narcissist. You know how they're going to play with your mind because you're already aware that they're narcissists. They're going to say things like, you're crazy. That's not how I said at all. Or what's another thing that they like to say is, don't be so sensitive. Don't be so emotional. Relax. And my favorite and the most important one is, fine, it's all my fault, but they don't mean it. What they're doing is they're trying to make you feel guilty by blaming them in a way that usually it's so flippant and so aggressive that you feel, oh, no, 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 that's not what I'm saying at all. And then you get the backpedal and it puts them again in the power. So, dealing with narcissists is always quite an adventure. But we can learn by taking ourselves first, not taking advantage of others, but also being aware of the narcissists in our lives and see how they react and how, because they can teach us, but we don't have to take all the lessons because some of them are narcissists are horrible people mostly. And
Okay. Oh, okay. Hold on. Lucky, may I?
oh, great, yes, yes.
Okay. So that was like that was a definition of narcissist mixed in with kind of, I guess, tonight's topic. When you first sent the email, it was like compassionate narcissist. I had never even heard that term before.
I made it up.
So you made it up?
I've never looked it up.
Oh no,
I
you
never.
can Google it. Oh
Huh.
yeah, dude. Yeah. So okay. Yeah, you sent me something I've never heard before.
Okay.
So I went, okay, Lucky must be knowing something I looked it up. The first thing I did is I went on, YouTube here, put in compassionate narcissist, and it brought me to some discussion with Jordan Peterson. Didn't say the words though, compassionate narcissist. Then I Googled it. And yeah, it actually, I think, is a term.
Okay.
Um, but it's used because like narcissism is now on this big spectrum from
Oh.
right, exactly. So then I went from reading what that is, and it's a whole lot of what you said. They are placating, they're acting as if they have emotions or therefore or they're empathetic towards you. It's all a fake facade. With the narcissist, well then I had to go, well wait a minute. A lot of this compassionate narcissism looks a lot like codependent caretaking because it's to feed themselves, right? So then I had to Google, codependent caretaker versus compassionate narcissist. And that was a whole thing. And the difference there was the motivation. But what was interesting is they both coincide with the motivation for the caretaking codependent and the compassionate narcissist, which is a facade, okay? But they are using that term now so you can identify like that person is actually a narcissist. They're faking you. They're tricking you. So I then googled the two verses, and the one like big overlapping motivator for both is recognition. So like the codependent caretaker really wants that recognition, wants to be praised, gets their self fulfillment through caring for others. So does the narcissist with some other jazz, because the codependent caretaker could maybe have empathy for you. But at the end of the day, it's still all about them. The narcissist, though, doesn't really have the empathy. They're just faking it, and it still is all about them. The overlapping is the recognition that they get. So you made that up, but yet, Lucky, that's a thing, man. Yeah,
I know, and I looked it up. Basically, it's about appearing to be caring and generous, but with an act of kindness that that is motivated by ulterior motives.
yes.
So basically, it's about look at the great things I've done,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a real compassionate person helps others without the thought of recognition, while the compassionate narcissist does it just for the recognition.
Right.
Especially those who say, I sacrifice so much for everyone else. I help everyone else, but no one
Right.
helps me. And I was under the impression that it's because they're helping too many people without helping themselves, but they're doing it because they want the attention,
Yeah.
subconsciously maybe,
Yeah.
but and they want everyone to realize how great they are and how much they
How great
sacrifice
they
for
are.
others. And
Right.
actually, they don't want the help. They don't want the they want the recognition, but they don't want other people to help them because that makes their acts of kindness so much less.
Exactly.
This is a trap that I wasn't aware that I was exposing.
that, yeah. So the Beautiful audience, welcome. Happy Saturday night, right? Um, yeah, when you sent that email, dude, my mind, you can only imagine my mind. Um, and then you tied it in with like, by witnessing a narcissist, though, can we learn something from them? Can we become a better, compassionate helper of society through witnessing a narcissist? And I was like, whoa, this is going to be a conversation, you know? Go ahead, Lucky. Yeah.
There are bigger things that do we all have an inner narcissist? And we call it the ego. Because although the ego might tell us negative things, it's for attention. The ego just wants attention. And that's one of the problems we have is it tells us negative things because, that's the best way of getting attention. Things that bother us and, focus gets our focus no matter what. And of course, we're denying it and fighting with our inner demons and not, and then the ego takes over, but for me, I've learned that my ego has important things to say. I don't have to listen to all of them. And maybe I listen to all of it, but only accept like 25% to grow from and use that. Okay. Like like with everything that comes, no matter negative or positive, with any negative thing that comes to you, there might be a kernel of truth, but of course it's wrapped in this, this mud, this tar that you don't
Yeah.
need. And if you're lucky, you might be able to find that truth in there and take that truth out and then throw the trash away.
Yeah. That takes a lot of self awareness and healing to process through and be able to do. And
Oh,
I, Lucky,
absolutely.
I have to say, in today's world, 2025 is when we're recording this. I would agree with you that the ego is somewhat narcissistic. Look at me, it's all about me. But I personally don't think it was the intent for the ego. Like the ego is attached to this human body of form and it's going to be present. I but it takes a great deal of healing for the ego to be in its rightful place. It's just a lookout. It's the lookout for everybody, and but in today's world, because our egos get bruised and battered and whatnot, they're inflated, and yeah, then it is all about feeding them. Um, Lucky,
But,
this is
but,
go ahead,
well,
sweetheart. Yeah.
the narcissist, I can see the narcissist like a guard dog, where if you treat the narcissist right, I mean, not narcissist, I'm sorry, not the narcissist,
The
the ego.
ego.
I treat the ego as like your guard dog, where if you take it right, if you train it right, even a bad dog can become a good dog if given the right direction,
Yes.
the right focus. I think
Yes.
that's with the ego. The ego just needs to learn that, hey, I am going to listen to you. I'm not going to try to kill you. I'm going to work with you,
Yes.
but you have to follow the rules.
Yes.
And for the ego, it's like a dog. It just is very, very, sometimes it does what it feels like, or like a 2-year-old child. Impulse. Dogs have impulses. The ego have impulses. And you can work with the ego, but again, it takes a lot of work. And also, ego, if you've got to give me some positive with your negative. We got to work
Yeah.
together. And if you're not,
Yeah.
I can't listen to you as much. And I really want to listen to you, that kind of thing. And that's also for us people who have the inner voices. We have the inner conversations that, what people without the inner thought, whether they have that inner ego that talks to them negatively, that's not for me to know. For that, they just for them to tell me and say yes, and we'll go from there. But until then, I have the inner conflicts in myself, and I say, hey, ego, let's balance this out, and I'll always listen to you, but you have to balance and give me something that I can be positive about.
Yeah. And I think once we do heal and we're conscious, then our conscious is the one that's driving the vehicle, not the ego
Oh yeah,
and the hurt little kid inside.
absolutely.
And that's when that aspect that you're talking about of like, when we get angry, when we feel something and it's like anger or, sadness or there's a reason why.
Hmm.
Something ain't right. Something ain't jiving right. Well, that's a part of the ego.
Hmm.
When that ego steps in and says, did that guy just say that to me? That's because something was not appropriate. Something was
Absolutely.
touching too close to our boundaries. So that's what I'm saying. But we do live in a world, I think, Lucky, that too many egos are inflated and they're scared and their best friend is the inner child, and those two are the ones driving the vehicle and not our self-aware consciousness. It's egos talking to egos. But with that being said, and this might just be my personal take, and everyone listening, Lucky and I are definitely not doctors in any of fields with any of this conversation. This is just personal take on matters. I think right now we're living in a time period where it is so quick to judge another person and diagnose them or even diagnose ourselves. And I think the term narcissism is thrown around so much in comparison to other diagnoses, let's say, that are out there that on first glance can look very narcissistic, from all sort of borderline personality disorder, ADHD, RSD, which is rejection sensitivity disorder. All these disorders that on first glance really look like they could be narcissistic, or even the caretaking codependent with narcissistic tendencies, the martyr syndrome, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
All of these different things, I personally, I just can't label to the degree that it seems to be happening in today's world. Everyone's a narcissist. It just doesn't work for me. But if you watch everything, oh, you're dating a narcissist, everybody around you's a narcissist, your boss is a narcissist, as if everyone is, but I don't think that's the case. I think there's a lot of things that intertwine with each other, and like I said, at first glance, they can look that way. And also, Lucky, I think this is just my opinion. I think everybody was in the most recent of decades. So if you're alive right now, that's the most recent of decades. I think the majority are some form of empath. And I think when empaths are born and then they learn negative, harmful thought patterns, habits, and behaviors from their peer group, their parental group, society as a whole, I think aspects of the characteristics of the empath values in them start to shift into protective narcissistic or paranoid aspects that feed the ego and push things out further. I that was probably just a lot of mouthful. I apologize. I always have a mouthful, don't I? Not because I'm
Hmm.
narcissistic. I just got a lot of shit to say.
I just want to stop and just welcome everyone. I was supposed to do it at the beginning, but I neglected myself. So, oh my goodness. Big Dad standing tall. Oh, I read it fine. I thought it was standing tail because Big Dad standing tall. Welcome. Chloe, you're always welcome. Jacob Bradwell, thank you for coming. Matt Gessig, welcome. And Mr. Floyd, Josh, thank you for coming. Welcome, Josh. And Shelly, Seeker of Truth, thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Wow, yeah, we got Matt and Jacob, Chloe, Jackie J. Wow, we got a big Neil. Thank you for coming, Shelly, everybody. If you have questions, because clearly I'm looking over this way to see the chat. Same with Lucky, it's below him in the computer. If you have any questions for us, which I don't know why you would, but you might, um, please put them in all caps and enjoy the conversation, folks. Enjoy being together on a Saturday night and comparing notes and seeing how everybody checks out and feels about it. So, Lucky, we just kind of put some clarity to a whole lot of. Well, I don't know if I did. Did I put clarity or did you put clarity? Where are we at? Let's check in with ourselves.
Well,
Let's
I
just
think
check in.
the I think the point is we're discussing from our own experiences in life.
Yeah.
and how we're dealing with our experiences with narcissism and narcissists. Because no matter what you do, the narcissist is all parts of our lives, and how you do it, how you work with it, and how you survive it. That's the most important thing. I mean, for me personally, my biggest conflict is work narcissists,
Yeah.
where I am always focused on getting things done in an effective, efficient way. While other people tend to be slow, and unfortunately, because I'm a fool and I'm boom, 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 get things done, they can do less because I'm not picking up the slack. I have to stop doing that. Which recently I've learned that there is a balancing act where I can slow down and do less, still do my job, but do less of my job that overlaps on their job so they can, pull their weight. And I think that's a part of our lives where sometimes we have to stop ourselves and going, am I doing too much for others that they're not appreciating? Or worse, are they taking advantage of me and everyone around them? And how can I, guide this situation better for me and for the people who deserve it? Tough, tough, tough game, but yeah.
Yeah. And also, well, with work, that's a tough period because are you doing stuff that they need to be doing? Like
Yeah.
they probably need to learn how to do things, and are you doing too much? That also, somebody once told me, and I actually love this little metaphor. I was starting a new job, and about 8 months into it, I was having so many problems. And somebody told me, like, Courtney, you just walked into a system or a machine in a way, or let's say all these people are a bag of tools, uh, for the big mechanic to use, right? For the system to use. All these people are individual tools, and they've been there for a long time. Or maybe they just don't know any better and they're used tools. But now I'm this shiny, bright, new ratchet that I'm clean, I'm shiny, I get the work done, I'm beautiful amongst the dirty, cruddy, breaking down old tools. So, of course, all eyes are going to be on the one that's shiny and new, the one that gets all the work done, the one that does it without even thinking.
Oh yeah.
So we have to, I always tell people don't compare yourself to others, but we also have to look if you're a part of a very big company, that we have to kind of step back and look at maybe the company as a like the department as a whole, then the company as a whole, and possibly pull back, because by us pulling back, it also is allowing eyes to be on others, for our own safety and also for the recognition others deserve. So, and people love recognition. See, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if everybody's a damn narcissist when one of the biggest criterias is that seeking recognition, when I think all humans have that, especially in today's world, of some sort, from our partners, from our family, from our friends. We all want to be seen, heard, and validated in some way, which is probably healthy. It's the extreme aspect of narcissism.
It's the taking advantage of others.
Yeah,
That's what makes a narcissist is they're so focused on themselves that they'll walk over other people.
yeah.
That's the problem. And then Big Dag Standing Tall has mentioned that how many types of narcissists are there?
Hmm.
I'm not even sure because I think they evolve. I think narcissists are. I don't think you can put a pin in them because they're always changing themselves because they know how to manipulate the program. They know how to manipulate the environment so they can
Well,
change
now
themselves.
I had to just learn this past week because I was looking up compassionate narcissism.
Hmm.
It is like everything else. It's now on a spectrum.
Yeah.
In the metaphysical world, you would have called it different degrees, right? Different degrees of things. Now we say spectrum. So to answer Neil's question, Big Dad Standing Tall, oh my goodness. Yeah, it's classified down to all sorts of little degrees, but there's some of those identifying markers. So like Those who have no feelings whatsoever, that's you're leaning into that psychopath, right? But then there might be at the farthest end of a narcissist, apparently extreme low self-esteem. That's that person that has such low self-esteem that they think about themselves all the time as well. That's what I'm trying to say. There's these now it's all on a spectrum. That you got the grandiose look at me, and then the complete opposite side of, oh, I'm nothing. Don't even bother looking at me. I'm so sad. Like how you said at the very beginning, Lucky, that person that says, oh, don't even bother. I guess it's all my fault, anyways. The other spectrum, or the other end of that line, when a one that's closer to psychopath would be saying it was everybody else's fault, right? Because nothing's their fault, or they just wouldn't even care about shit happening in the first place. So to answer Neil, like now, wow, the different degrees and what goes into it, but the one, it's like the line that threads through all of them is that recognition. Because even if you have the worst low self esteem narcissist, they're still looking for that validation and recognition. They're just doing it in the woe is me. They're still doing it in the self harming, right? When you have the grandiose ones that are doing it in the showboat, I am, look at me.
Oh
So
yeah.
but here, this is my one of my points though I'm trying to make. So there's so many different diagnoses out there now. Take take ADHD. And everybody knows I talk about it a lot because I not only is my husband diagnosed, I also started teaching kids that pretty much the whole room was full of it, full of kids diagnosed with it, right? So I had
Hmm.
to learn like what goes on with them. If they get in the zone or if they're fearful about something, and zone means they are full on concentrated. This is why we have, they think that Tesla and Einstein, these people that could really geniusly hone in on something, were ADHD. When they're like that, and you're asking them to do their homework, take out the garbage, whatever it is, you're asking them to spend quality time with you, or something's happening with you, whatever it may be, it is so hard if they can get into that zone to think about anything else, to focus on anything else. So at first glance, they're selfish. I had a kid once in an English class, and it was at a behavioral school, and he was not going to be allowed to go home that weekend. It was like it was one of those. Not every other weekend they could go home. For whatever reason, he could not go home. He finds this out right before he's walking into my high school English class. He tried to hold that class hostage because he couldn't let go of it. I'm trying to teach, he keeps bringing it up. I try to teach, he keeps bringing it up. And at some point, I start losing it because I didn't know enough about how their brains worked. I said, would you stop being so selfish? Would you stop thinking solely about yourself? There are kids in this class trying to learn, and he literally couldn't. That brain couldn't. So that's what I'm saying. First glance, borderline personality disorders, ADHD, uh, all sorts of people walking this earth right now that are not necessarily narcissistic. And another thing, Lucky, I think for your point of view that you're trying to make, we live in a society, especially myself included, you too, we say a lot about self care. Take care of yourself. Think about yourself. Have compassion for yourself and others, right?
Hmm.
Compassion for yourself. Compassion for yourself. Well, how is that being interpreted? I'm always wondering how that is being interpreted.
I'm not, because it's about taking yourself first without sacrificing someone else for your needs. There is a balancing act, but for a compassionate person, they will do that because they're always. It's hard for us to take advantage of anyone, and it's harder for us to even take ourselves first because we're always going to think, am I taking advantage of people? Because for a compassionate person, it's second nature not to take advantage of anybody. But the same thing where you tell someone take yourself first, who isn't compassionate, they don't
Right.
care, and it'll be obvious that that they're taking advantage. But
They're
they
already
to
doing
them,
it.
they're like, well, I'm being compassionate to myself. What's wrong with you? So it's
Right.
always about balancing act. And again, more importantly, if you're sacrificing yourself and not taking yourself first, and you are helping others, you're not really helping anybody because you are not at your best because you're so focused on the accolades or the focus on if you're sacrificing yourself, you're sacrificing yourself for others. And that's with the compassionate narcissism, which is where it falls into, where you know you're sacrificing yourself and you're not helping anybody. And that's
Well,
another
then
thing.
why
Yeah,
are
yeah,
you why is someone doing that then? Like what's the reason, what's the motivator?
they're selfish because they like the attention.
Okay, so we're looking at those who look compassionate, but they're sacrificing themselves. See, this is why I had to plug in codependent caretaker versus compassionate narcissist. I think the codependent caretaker with maybe even narcissistic tendencies, I think they do actually care, but at the end of the day, it's their motivator is still about them.
Yes,
The accolades they get, the sense of um these grandiose ideas that the world would fall apart if it wasn't for them.
yes,
It fulfills whatever they're seeking, validation or whatnot. I So the main thing is we got to check our motives.
yes. That is huge.
Yeah.
That is, yes. And it doesn't have to be all the time, 24 hours a day, but it does have to be at least once a day. Think of what you did today and what were your motives because you know that you worked too hard. At the end of the day, whether it be, with your parents, your friends, um, work, you have to look and think to yourself, it means daily check yourself, daily
Yeah.
check and see what were my motives for this and what has happened and how do I feel about today. I mean, there are times when I've hung out with friends and yes, I've gone above and beyond, but it's like helping a friend move. 100% it's about sacrificing some of your needs for someone else. But on the other hand, the friend who you help move, they've helped you before. And it sounds like, oh, well, you're looking for, equal in payment and you're being selfish right there. No, it's more about a good friend would never take advantage of you and you helping them move because you know that at some point they'll be available. It doesn't mean help you move, but it could just be they'll be available to you when you need it. And I hear that so much that people say, I help everyone, but when I need help, no one's there for me. And it's like, are you doing it because you want to be the center of attention? Or are you doing it because you've just been programmed from family, programmed for all your life? And that means you got to check yourself. You got to look and say, why am I doing this? What is happening? Do I deserve this? You look like you're frozen. And I think you're frozen, and I'm hoping I'm not frozen. Am I still? Is everything okay, everybody? Okay, I'm all alone. So, am I still? I guess I could look at the other thing. Well, how's everyone out there? Um, I'm hoping I'm still broadcasting. Everything looks good. I don't have any error messages. Uh, okay, everything. Thank you, New Yoda. Oh, welcome, New Yoda. I didn't say hi to you. How selfish of me. I'm sorry for being selfish, New Yoda. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you coming here. Since Courtney had to pop out because of the oh, Lindsay. Hello, Lindsay. Welcome. Thank you for coming. There's something else that I have here. It's called white lighting. It's when you communicate your feelings, pain, or discomfort with someone, and they casually wave it aside for some positive comment that makes it look like you are complaining too much. Things like, it wasn't that bad. There's so much to be grateful for, and it could be worse. And these things that, yes, it is good to understand the situation, but more importantly, you have to be heard once in a while. Oh, welcome, Mary Wins. When Mary wins, we all win. Thank you, Mary Wins, for coming. And so, Suzette's Universe. Hello, Suzette Universe. Welcome. So, yes. So when you feel yourself complaining too much and they come back with things like that, are you really complaining too much? You just need to just vent. Sometimes we complain to just vent. And a compassionate person knows to listen. And I think that's another problem we have is that so many of us are not compassionately listening. We're just waiting to talk. And I mean, introverts have this wonderful thing where we don't really want to be the center of attention except for the people we care about. But we listen. Introverts listen very well because we don't know how to lead the conversation. We don't want to leave the conversation. So, I mean, that's it. There's the white lighting, because the reason for the white lighting is basically is people who you're complaining to, you're expressing your opinion, you're expressing your feelings, and they turn it around with it's not that bad, or you're being crazy. Things could be worse. Other people have it worse than you. And then it goes with the other thing, which is with the narcissists, it's the gaslighters, who, unfortunately for me, gaslighters are my favorite people because gaslighters will say things like, "Oh, that's not how it happened. You're remembering incorrectly. Um, don't you remember we talked about this?" And those are three things where someone says, "Don't you remember we talked about something?" or "That's not what I said." I have a really great memory about these things, and I also write everything down. So when someone tries to gaslight me, I don't let them know that I write everything down. I says, "Well, let me look at my notes, and then I can get back to you with that." Or don't you remember we talked about this? And my response is, "No, I don't remember we talked about this. Did you send it in an email? Did you know, note it anywhere?" Because for me, unless it's written in an email, I'm a very busy person. So you got to turn it around these people who try to make you think like you're remembering incorrectly. Um, they'll tell you you're over emotional. It's not that bad, or you can't just take a joke. Things like that. You don't have to take that. Um, if someone tells you you're too emotional, it was just a joke. You can simply say it wasn't a very good joke, and I don't accept that. And that's one of the biggest things is when someone comes to you with something and it offends you, it hurts your feelings. You can simply say, "I don't accept that." And we can be better. We can have a better relationship, or we can just do what we need to do and interact very little. Because narcissists will take advantage whenever they can. But if you put things out there and explain to them that how things should be, I mean, especially if you do it in a kind, compassionate, relaxed way, they have nothing to respond. I mean, they might try, but if you're calm and relaxed, a lot of times when the ego gets offended, it's like a guard dog where it tries to jump out and attack and gets really emotional and gets aggressive. Well, we don't have to be like that. We can be relaxed and calm and express ourselves in the better way. And I think that's the most important thing about this, about how to be compassionate and how to deal with the narcissist inside of us. We might not all be narcissists, but every day there's a little bit of stuff we want to, focus on what we need. Our needs need to be met, and we can balance it out. we can listen to, we can help others. And, it really is important that we take our needs first. Um, and, we can take our needs first, think about it, and see how our needs will impact others. And we can balance it out, because sometimes I might need my needs to be above someone else, but it's not all the time. And that same person, because you've taken your needs above someone else, you make time for them, especially when it comes to talking to other people in a conversation. I mean, right now I'm winning. Mary wins. I'm winning because I'm I'm the only person talking. I see the chat going off, and you guys are having a nice conversation, and that's wonderful. Um, and that's the part. That's the most important part of everything. Is just being our best self and taking care of what we need and focusing on us. And after that, thinking about, okay, how is it impacting others, and balancing. You know, life is about balancing. I think that's the most important thing about anything in life. Buddhism is very much about that. I think Jesus taught that too. It's not about, being one way or the other. It's about balance in the right in the middle. I mean, Buddha learned that. He was a rich, well-off individual, and then he found out what was going on, that he was not aware of. And then so he started sacrificing everything. He was, torturing himself, starving himself, doing these very painful ways of yoga. And then he realized, I'm that doesn't help me. I mean, that yes, I'm so religious that I'm in pain and I'm suffering and I'm starving. But there's a balance where you don't have to sacrifice everything, but you also don't have to, be happy all the time. You can be in the middle. In the middle path is always the answer. I mean, the politicians. Oh, Courtney's back! Yay, Courtney's back. Um, Let me just finish this. That the middle path. That you can be a balance. You can walk the middle path. You can understand what you need and what others need. And yes, life is pain, but you don't have to always live in pain.
Can you hear me, Lucky?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so thank you for filling in all of that.
It's my show.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in charge.
Which is awesome. I don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, actually, what might be going on is we're fixing to. I thought we were going to have really bad storms at like 2, 3 in the morning, but if they're already starting to come, well, this might be an indicator because,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, this is a thing right now. So I'm on my phone. So, hi, everybody. I can't see anything. I don't know what's really happening. I can see you, Lucky, but I hope the chat went well. So you were talking
Chat's
about,
great. Yes.
you were talking about gaslighters.
Yes. Welcome, John Price. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. So
Yes.
fill me back in real quick.
It was basically I was just finding different kinds of narcissists, and one of them is the gaslighters, who I honestly love. I love gaslighters only because, yes, they torture you. They tell things like you don't remember correctly, or that's not how it happened, or don't you remember we talked about this? And when you pay attention to everything, if you're always because that's one of the purposes, one of the things about being a certain kind of lifestyle where you are attention to everything. So gaslighters have a little power over you. Yes, it is tough, but for me, gaslighters are my favorite because I always know the game plan. While narcissists, they can manipulate me because I always want to do the best at all times.
Oh, wow. Okay. You know, when you were talking before, and that before like the whole technical thing went off, went crazy. And thank you everybody for bearing with me. Pray for me too if you want to, because I don't know what kind of storms are coming. Um, I was thinking the title of all this is like, how can we learn from a narcissist? So, what you're saying just now about gaslighting, what we were saying before, the technical issues, I'm interpreting it as like the power of saying no. Like, if anything, we could watch narcissists, we could watch gaslighters, all this stuff. They are really good at being able to establish their boundaries, let's say, because they don't care. And then for those who, you know, bend themselves, break their backs over and over again to help others in the name of compassion, which we're learning the motivating factor there is different. Um, then that's what maybe they can learn is the power of no and establishing boundaries and sticking to them by witnessing how easy it is for the narcissist to say no, to go, no, I'm not, I could care less what you got going on or how you're feeling or what's happening to you. Same with gaslighters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes, and in even that's, the power to say no is a powerful thing because you don't have to make excuses. They want you to make excuses so they can, no, but or no because, and whatever you say because, they're going to find a way around it. So you can simply say no and not defend yourself because you know your bandwidth. You know how much you can take. And I
Yeah.
think that's one thing about narcissists. They will play games and they will play you. And that's what you can learn. You don't have to learn to be a narcissist, but learn from the narcissist because you know how to protect yourself and how to keep yourself in the right place.
Yeah. That's, I mean, if that's the conversation we're trying to have of like when we witness these other people, see how easy and nonchalantly they can just go about their business. That it does, what other people, places, and things are doing doesn't really affect them. Like they're not busy comparing themselves to other people. They're not busy worrying about other people. Well, maybe that's a little bit that, especially caretakers and those who, you know, are stressed out all the time. Maybe that's what they can pull from that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we were talking about checking our motives before the technical issues. I have to say, Lucky, so I saw that Matt was in the chat earlier. I don't know if he still is. He was kind of paramount during a time that I was growing, changing, and I'll put it out there. I was also getting sober. I was doing all sorts of healing, and he was really paramount in that for me. And that was around the time that I had to start checking my motives always, always. And so I do want to say that those that have gone through any of like 12-step recovery stuff, even if they didn't make it, even if they, didn't do all of it, which is fine. Um, we have a little bit of an edge on other people. We have a little bit of a more beginning in this process. Those who go through any, it could be Al-Anon, it could be Coda, it could be AA, it could be NA, whatever, because those steps have us really look at ourselves and good, bad, ugly, everything, and take accountability, responsibility, gain all of that self awareness, do what we need to do to clean up all the wreckage and heal ourselves while establishing really good boundaries. And then every day we have to check our motives multiple times a day. And if we actually work the material and the steps, it's kind of programmed into us. And I know everybody's like, oh, programs. Well, damn, I don't mind the fact that I check my motives all the time. I really don't. Because especially being here on YouTube, before I'm on, before I'm given whatever kind of dialogue that might be coming out of my mouth, I'm conscious of it. I have good intentions. I check my motives. It's not about me, it's about serving others. If more people kind of could adopt that attitude of checking in with themselves and really have the self awareness, and if they are the type that maybe they have narcissistic tendencies and they get their validation by caretaking others, maybe that they can look at all that and it's a choice. Do you want to keep living that way? Or do you want to be in your self awareness, your self responsibility, and check your motives? And in those motives, create the boundaries that are needed. And I'm kind of talking fast here because I feel like we lost a bit of time with me gone. But so those that have been in recovery, they have a little bit, I will say, well, they should, if they work the steps, they have a little bit more advantage, I guess, of this is not the first time they're hearing these things. In practice, that's a case by case basis. But Lucky, if I was going to say to you about learning to say no, the power of no, and establishing boundaries, what do you think would be like the hardest to do? Like, what do you think people can do that?
Yes, but unfortunately, the power of no depends on the situation you're involved in. And, no in of itself sounds selfish, but the most important thing is that you're using no because you know what you're capable of, and you say no because you you know
You can't.
yeah
You
the,
can't.
the, the,
Yeah.
the, the thing about saying no is because you understand that you cannot do everything.
Yeah.
And that's the power of no. You cannot do everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had to adopt that because 20 years ago, and Matt, if he's still in the chat,
Yes,
he
he is.
can
Matt is
contest
still in the
to,
chat. Yes.
yeah, he can contest to this, that 20 years ago, Courtney, oh yeah, I would have been running around trying to help everyone, do everything, save the world, bleeding heart. Apparently it was only my heart that was bleeding. And I was the one drinking because my bleeding heart. So I had to, for my own safety, my own self-worth, my own care. But it's so interesting when I'm with a group of people now in person and things are being discussed. I kid you not, Lucky, when I say no, I'm not going to do that. Or no, I'm not going to all that stuff. No, I'm not doing this. No, I'm not doing that. Because I can say it so abruptly and so straightforward, all eyes in the room are just like, whoa, like, how did she do that? Not enough people exercise, I think, that power because they're afraid of what others might think of them, or they're afraid of hurting other people's feelings. But that again is seeking validation by judging how you're going to receive, comparing yourself to others and creating validation for yourself by not hurting somebody else's feelings. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, it comes to if you have trouble saying no, it's important for you to figure out why is it hard to say no. Is it
Yeah.
because you like being in charge of everything? You like being the go-to person, which I do because I'm
Right.
so good at it, but it's not fair to me and it's not fair to others because if I do
Right.
everything, they're not going to learn what they need to know. And that's one of the things in my list of daily things is that, I have a list of my daily chores at work. And one of them is you are not to do everything because you need to teach other people how to, support themselves. And
Good.
I mean, it's a daily thing where they'll say, "Well, I need help with this," and I'm like, "Yes, I'll help you, no problem." But you've got to start. You've got to. Sometimes it's football. You've got to move the ball a few yards before I can, help you. I'm not going to move the ball, but I'm going to show you how you can do it yourself. And
Amen. Yeah.
And at my job, people love me for that. And and I sometimes I feel a little bad because I know I can do it much quicker than they can. But in the end of the day, they have to learn to do it themselves because if I'm not around on vacation or sick or whatever, things fall apart. And it happens. That's how I know when things go bad is because when things fall apart at work, I need to take notes and says, "What have I done too much of this time?"
Hey, Lucky, would you mind if I skip back to my computer
Go for it.
and off the phone?
Yes,
I'm just
go
bouncing
ahead.
around, folks.
Yep,
I'll be right
that's
back.
fine. That's fine. So another,
Hopefully. Well,
yes,
it'll go easier this way.
yes, go. It's fine. So an important thing you have to realize, everyone, is that the labels we put out there for others and for ourselves, and sometimes labels are the worst thing you can do because labels separate us from other people.
Oh, see, it's good to be back with you, Lucky, in
Yes,
real
yes.
space and time.
So I want to finish
All
my
right, go
thought.
ahead.
So labels separate us from other people, and sometimes labels make things easier, but we can't rely on it. We have to take the label and move forward from that. If we need to label a situation or a person, we have to go forward and go, okay, I them and I are the same, so let's find a commonality rather than us versus them. The us versus them thing is a very powerful motivator for some people. Having a common enemy makes a group unite and glue them together, and it's horrible. So rather than have a common enemy, usually if we can work together for a common good, we're a team. And I'm always saying that yes, we're different departments, but we're a team. We work together. This is
Yeah.
important. And again, this is why people respect me because I say things like that. Like, no, yes, we're different departments, but we're a team. We get things done together. And that we need more people like that because I work with people who are very selfish and about, oh, look how we get ahead. But no, we get ahead
Mhm.
together, not by me stepping on someone else's back.
Do you find it at work that you're a problem solver, and then when you present the solving of the problem, a lot of people are just like, "Oh no." Like they just want to talk about the problem. They don't want to solve the problem.
I am always the one to bring up the problem and bring up the solution. And yes, usually people love to talk about the problem, I mean, how bad it is and what the problems are and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yes, there's a problem here, and here is where we can fix it. They may not accept it, but let's put it out there. And of course, if you put it in a validated system, people have to work with it. People have to acknowledge it because it can't go away. Some stuff can disappear. Unvalidated systems or like Teams. Teams isn't official. So if someone writes something in Teams, it's just an opinion. But if you put it in an email, that's a permanent record. And I love using email because it really bothers the upper management.
This
And
will go down on your permanent record. Yeah.
and I am known as the problem causer. More and but I always have a solution. So this be aware of the situation and here are possible solutions. And they're so focused on, oh no, now everyone knows about this problem. And I'm like, yeah, good. Shed some light on it. Let everyone see. And that's the thing. A lot of us will be a problem. And sometimes we'll just ignore it. If maybe it'll go away, maybe it'll fix itself. But I'm not like that. I like to punch through. I like to focus things because yes, everything in life, the check engine light. Well, what does it mean? Who knows? I don't really want to know. If I check, I can't afford to fix it. No, you're
Well,
gonna.
that's kind of like the gaslighting thing. That's like being a denial narcissist. Like, I'm going to just basically say nothing's going on. I'm going to tell you that it's somehow your fault. I'm going to say all these loose words that are very airy and gassy
Yeah, it's not
to,
that bad. Yeah, that's
yeah,
not
it's
that
not that,
bad.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Do you think, did you grow up in a house with gaslighting?
I would rather not say.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, right. What a messed up question. Apologize.
Because
Um,
my family sometimes watches some of my videos, which is very surprising to me lately. But yes.
yeah, and they'd be like, "No, that never happened." Oh, not like that's not an example.
Well,
Yeah,
let's focus.
it's
Actually, yes. My father was big on being the center of attention. He loved to sing. He wrote odes at Christmas time. He like there was a part where we do the Christmas exchange,
yeah.
and his present, part of the present, was this stupid poem. And that's my father, and everyone knows my father, and my aunts and uncles and cousins know very much about my father. But the thing about my father is he wasn't entertaining. He was kind of a clown narcissist, but he
Yeah.
also took advantage of absolutely everyone he could.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess, I'm trying to think of, your question. See, when maybe people don't know this, but like we're recording right now and the title of this stream is right above us. And so I keep looking at this question, can you be a better helper through narcissism? And it's so interesting. I didn't know where this conversation was going to go when you sent me the email. But now when we talk about like gaslighting, actually, yeah, that can help when you can identify it and then do the opposite. Get real honest. Don't live in denial. Get real honest with yourself and others. When you can see a narcissist not really, compare themselves to others or care what other people think of them, so they can say things like no or have really clear boundaries. Maybe we can adopt some of that. I think, Lucky, you actually presented. I mean, I'm not going to lie. You sent this email to me about this topic, maybe what, Wednesday or something. And I just, what? What are we talking about? I think there is value in this question and this conversation as to, because we're all mirrors of one another, even the narcissist, even the overwhelming caretaker martyr, even the low self esteem narcissist, the grandiose narcissist. Even the grandiose ones, we could maybe see them and try to take a little bit of their showboating if we're the type that know that we need to maybe be out in public a bit more, but we don't really know how to. We can watch them go, well, shoot, for those 20 minutes, they didn't care about anything. Maybe I could just do that and then practice that a little bit. So I do think this question that you came up with, well, it's definitely valid, and I think there's something to it. I think we've been nailing some pretty good stuff. Lucky, what do you think?
Yes, and there's just one more tiny minor thing I want to bring up that's might be a little difficult for people to accept.
Oh, okay.
We tend to have the same kind of person come back into our lives, even though we leave a job.
Mm,
The same kind of person comes into our life because everyone comes into our life for a reason at the right time. And although they might drive us crazy and make us just stress us out, it's for our benefit to learn how to take their presence in our life and go with it. And it might just be for us to stand up for ourselves. That might be the only lesson, to stand up for ourselves. And
yeah,
if you find yourself repeating the same relationship, you break up with someone and you get back with the same kind of person in
yeah,
the same kind of personality, a different body, it is a lesson for you. And it's not a
yeah.
blame game. It's about walking forward and going, okay, what can I do with this, and how can I be better at the other end?
Oh, I think, I agree with you, and I think that in that regard of like, why do we keep meeting and experiencing life with the same stereotypical or even non-stereotypical, but definitely same kind of experience with others? Lucky, I think it's across the board. I think it could be from, I cannot express to you how many times I've done readings for people that they'll ask me, why was I with that person? Or what's going on within this relationship? And the constant, I cannot express how many times. the answer is for them to stand up for themselves. Their answer is for, at least in this life, walk away from this soul contract, or you're going to keep doing it. You're going to keep doing it. You're going to do it with other people. Stand up for yourself. I mean, that answer is given so many times. But even in regards to like how we were speaking, like maybe we can pull from these narcissists and learn a little bit about some things that maybe we need to start practicing. It might be that these people are in our lives for also the mirror aspect.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe we're involved with narcissists, so we can actually see the narcissist within us that other people are seeing. Right? Like maybe
Yes.
we're close to a narcissist, so we can go, damn, put that mirror up to ourselves and go, wow, I have the same issues. I have the same insecurities. I have the same agendas, the same motives. I just play them out differently. But I have the same internal thought process. Oh my goodness, is this how my friend base sees me? Is this how people at work see me? Right? So maybe that's a part of it.
Hmm. And Matt, huge question. During national disasters, are narcissists helpers or leaders, or do they get humbled? I think
Mm,
narcissists tend to get humbled because I don't think narcissists can be very good leaders. During a national disaster, they tend to be the ones to get involved and tend to just mess everything up because they're so focused on themselves that if a national disaster, you need to help others. It's not about you.
yeah, I was
And
gonna say, great question, Matt. That's a really good question. I think, in my opinion, I think because the magnitude of what is out of their control is so big, and there's always going to be a bigger dog that shows up, right? That I do think that it humbles them probably a bit. I'm not saying it corrects what's going on with them, but I think for at least maybe a pocket of time, they pull back, they get humbled, and then they probably, when the relief is kind of settling in, they probably go right back to their natural ways. But I think it's more based on the impact can be so big that out of their control, it definitely would have to, it'd be energetically forced into some kind of submission. So even if we have to say with a grandiose narcissist that it's a more of a submission than a humble, eh, still maybe they can learn something out of it.
well, the problem with this is leaders. Leaders need to delegate. And then when you
Mm-hmm.
delegate, it means that you might be losing the spotlight. You're the leader, but you need to delegate to people who are better at it. And they might get more accolades than you are. But that's the true leader. And I don't think a narcissist can knows how to delegate.
No, yeah, as a narcissist, one thing, like, I think when it says like helpers here, that's
Yeah.
going to that fake, compassionate, quote unquote, narcissist. Leaders, though, what this is the tricky thing about, I like how you said that, Lucky. By definition, a leader is not a leader without the people. And so all leaders, by definition, are supposed to be listening to the people more so than anything else. They cannot serve and be the leaders that they are without acknowledging the people. So I don't think a narcissist can do that. They can't acknowledge the people. So
Hmm.
therefore, leadership would definitely not even really apply to that. I think the reason why we tend to maybe throw our boss or leaders into narcissist is when it's more showboat stuff. But in a crisis like that, that would be true leadership. And you can't be a leader without people. It's
Hmm.
fundamental. It's the whole definition, really.
Okay.
Yeah, because what else? Then you're leading yourself. You're listening only yourself.
Hmm.
That's a little food for thought, everybody. Actually look into spiritual definition, the definition of leader, all of it. Even, MLK, man, what he would say about leadership, it's all very true. You can't actually be a leader without listening to the people at all. Period.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's been about hour and 15 minutes, so we should probably try to wrap this up.
Yeah, with all the let's I'm gonna scroll through real quick. Thank you everybody for dealing with the technical issues, and I am hoping that storms, all the storms that will be coming through. Lucky, you're supposed to be getting storms too, right?
We're in the middle of a storm right now. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
Lord, so who knows if it was you, me, who knows what was going on.
Oh no, it was definitely
Um
you because you get knocked off. I didn't get knocked off.
Are you trying to gaslight me, Lucky?
No, I'm telling the truth. You get knocked off, not me.
I know. Oh my God, how funny is that? So I was just scrolling through to see if there are any more questions out there. That was a good question, Matt. Thank you.
Yes, it is
So,
very good involvement in this. Is fascinating, and I hopefully
yeah,
this chat will stay so I can read it later. But most likely it tends to disappear. But that's unfortunate.
yeah, and we're going to be having more disasters, unfortunately.
Absolutely, yes.
I'll be talking about that on my channel, Stars of the Morning Light. I think actually in March, mid-March, I'm going to have to start talking about what's going on with the weather, with the flip of the poles, with how do we help and help ourselves, even like with gardening and whatnot. I really do have to start covering this stuff. So, with that being said, yeah, wherever you are, be safe and watch out for those during, disasters that are just taking and not helping or true leadership. Definitely. Lucky, somebody's asking what's your channel? So Lucky Stone 888 is Lucky's channel. My channel is Stars of the Morning Light. So thank you
Are
for
you
that
broadcasting your
question.
channel too, or just my channel?
No, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't who knows what I'm doing now? My whole power went out.
So that's weird for Susan Thunder to ask that question because I think you're watching on my channel actually.
Maybe she wanted us to state it. So thank you everybody for
Oh, thank you, Mary
listening.
Wins. Yeah, Mary Wins has put me in
Yes.
there, so she's all. Thank you,
Yes,
Mary.
thank you, Mary
Mary's great with that.
Wins.
I tend to forget
I
about it. Also,
know.
in half an hour or so, about 40 minutes, Milky Way Soul Tribe is on. I was invited. I'm going to be on that show. I don't remember what the subject was because although I got invited, I didn't read the email because I'm naughty. I was going to. I was going to, but I just kept doing stuff today, and
Well, just wing it. Just wing
yeah,
it.
I
So
always wing
yeah.
it. Yeah, I do best when I wing it because I'm a creature of stress because that's always been my life. Stressful life. I tend to be on the top. When things are easy, I tend to get stressed out, and that's how I'm my most anxiety when nothing's happening.
Most of us are learning how to be okay with okay, right? It's a
Wonderful. Yes.
cliche, but it's profound and great, and compassion to self and others. Thank you everybody for sticking with us through everything tonight. Definitely subscribe to Lucky Stone 888. Definitely subscribe to Stars of the Morning Light. Great material, and we are together either on his channel, Lucky Stone 888, or over at mine every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Esoteric Tea, we're discussing something. We are discussing something that is food for thought, good energy for everyone as we learn how to be okay with okay and express compassion to ourselves and others. Right, Lucky?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. So we're
So
sounding off.
anything final you have?
Um,
See, the most important thing is you don't have anything. That also says something important because I mean you said what you need to say, and we're okay with
yeah.
that.
Yeah. I think I'm groovy, man. I want everybody to try to have a good week and stay warm, stay safe, stay in love, heightened sense of love. You're worthy. So, I mean, I think I'm good. Which surprising, right? Cuz this mouth can talk. So,
It's
thank you,
always good.
Lucky. I thought it was a good night.
It was a very good night, and most importantly, if any of you want to be on either of our channels, just I have an email attached to somewhere on my channel, but just put it in the comments, and I'll get back to you. Any comments? If you have any questions or anything at all, put in the comments. If you need a vent, put in the
Yes.
comments. It's fine. I read every comment because I'm a small channel. I love to read things. And lately, my channel's not been getting much traffic for some reason, but
Yeah.
I'm okay. YouTube does what it needs to do, and I'm okay with whatever YouTube does because they're good. I don't care that whatever you don't need to complain about YouTube. YouTube does its job, and I'm going to do the best I can for YouTube, and YouTube will do the best for me, and we'll all work together, common
You
ground
know what?
somewhere.
Then I'm going to leave us with this. All we got to do is show up and show up with effort. That's it.
Yep, yep,
That's it for everything. YouTube, life, period. Show up and show up with effort. That's it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Comments are good, though. Topic ideas
comments.
is good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Whatever you guys have, I'm okay with it. And if you just need to vent in my comment section, as long as if you can make fun of me, just don't make fun of the other commenters, other people. That's fine. Cool. Make fun of me all you want. It's all good because I might learn something from it. And that's the crazy thing
Oh,
about me. I love learning.
yes. Good night,
Right?
everybody. Good
Good
night,
night, everybody.
Lucky.
Have a great week. Have a great snowstorm. Have a great ice storm. Whatever it comes up, make it good.
Hmm.
Good night. Good night, everybody.